Well, if you thought it couldn't get worse for Dungeons & Dragons, the 2025 Monster Manual is now going into promotion mode from Wizards of the Coast, and a new video that they put up on their channel actually shows some weird gender...
This is from Jon Del Arroz, I think this guy's channel is. Jon Del Arroz. I have always loved the idea of getting into Dungeons & Dragons. There's a guy I work with who has been nagging me about it, and he's so annoying that it makes me not want to do it. But I've always loved fantasy. I'll watch hundreds of hours of YouTube videos about the lore and the monsters. I've just never played the game yet. I just, growing up, I didn't have the, all my friends wanted to play football, and I was like, well, I don't really want to play that, but just so we can be friends and hang out. So I wanted to play Dungeons & Dragons, but I never learned and I never got into it. But I still want to, but I hear it's turning not good.
Swaps going on, and of course transgender propaganda going on once again. They just can't help themselves. They want to destroy their brand.
So I want to hear what this guy says. Fill me in on what's going on with Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons 2025 Monster Manual gender swaps dryads and hags and turns the incubus and succubus into transgender creatures.
We're going to cover it here. We're going to show you exactly what they said. Please hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things in fantasy.
Go subscribe. This is literally the first video I've ever watched of this guy. But since I'm watching it, you should check out his channel, Jon Del Arroz.
Especially with D&D, a longtime D&D player here, my friends. And I'm a fantasy author myself. And so I would love for you to check out my fantasy series. This is for Steam and Country.
Let them grift.
And for some reason it's grayed out on my screen, but whatever. You can get the gist here. This is an airship adventure of a crew that's questing. They end up fighting against different monsters. And a war develops that just really opens things up. It goes crazy. By the time you get into book 2 and 3, like the action is dialed up to 11. And so you're really going to enjoy this. I did some good world building here that I think
fantasy.
Like if you're a Dungeons & Dragons fan. Check it out in the description below. Thank you guys for making this a perennial bestseller. We are just crushing it while Wizards of the Coast keeps going woke. And, of course, this is a 6-book series. It's available on ebook, print, and audio in your preferred format today. So thank you for reading. All right. So Dungeons & Dragons 2025 Monster Manual is the final book of the trilogy of core books. If you don't know the series, they always do a trilogy of core books called the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Monster Manual. And the Monster Manual, of course, has all the creatures, makes it very easy for people who are running games to get stats and, of course, ideas.
Now, I did see in the, I think it was the Dungeon Master Manual or whatever it's called. I don't know. Whatever he just said. The one that came out before this, the rule book or whatever. There's this weird, stupid thing. Like, if you feel triggered or unsafe, you, like put up an X like this. I saw Babylon B made a parody of it. We're going to have to react to that.
Adventures is the thought. And now it's gone woke. Wizards of the Coast has already revealed gender swapping of traditional monsters like drags and hags, as well as transgender succubus and incubus monster in the promotional video. If you don't know what's going on with Dungeons & Dragons, you might have been under a rock in 2024, but there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the new edition. The 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide infamously has incorporated BDSM fetish community practices into the game for safe spaces.
Interesting.
Where players make an X with their arms
there
if
it
they
is.
feel triggered by a situation, requiring a DM to stop the game and address the player in question. Wow.
Has infamously incorporated BDSM fetishes, huh?
That sounds like fun. The Player's Handbook is filled with imagery of BIPOC and female characters at a margin of more than 5-to-1 of white male characters, about the direct opposite of the demographics who play the...
I have heard about what they did to the orcs. They felt like it was racist how the orcs were, because they view orcs as black people, and since the orcs were very aggressive and barbaric and stuff, so they changed them in a way. They even got rid of a race. I forget what race it was, but they felt they were too racist because they think orcs are black people.
Game. And of course, famously, we had the Mexican orcs last year.
Yeah.
As they're trying to humanize the monsters.
Mexican
That's a big part
orcs.
of what's going on here. Weird stuff. They're removing race as a term. It's now species, if you don't know. Absolutely crazy on that level. And they're trying to remove traits for races so that, not all orcs are the same and not all elves are the same and the like. So you don't get plus to intellect elves anymore. You don't get plus strength to dwarves anymore. It's all gobbledygook and just destroys what the game was in its heart and soul. Moreover, they released a new history book on the making of Dungeons & Dragons, and the lead developer at Wizards of the Coast, Jason Tondro, penned a foreword calling the designer Gary Gygax misogynistic and accusing him of cultural appropriation. It was crazy. This actually had Elon Musk chime in on it last year, where he actually went and questioned whether he should buy Hasbro
I remember him
to change
saying
things
that.
here.
Yeah.
But now there's a final new core book coming out. It's called the Monster Manual, the 2020. They call it the 2024, but it's really 2025 at this juncture. And they did a video, Everything You Need to Know. I watched the whole thing. It was a slog. Basically, it's a couple of the designers, Jeremy Crawford and F. Wesley Snyder, giving an interview with Todd Kendrick detailing the final core rulebook. And they're so smug about it, guys. This is the funniest part.
Of course they are.
Get into the actual video here. Like, they're just giddy about what they're doing to Dungeons & Dragons, and it's really, really silly stuff here when you get into it. In the introduction, Kendrick says,
the biggest experience I had with D&D was Baldur's Gate 3. You can check it out on my Let's Play channel called WaywardGames. It's right underneath the Channels tab or whatever tab it is on my channel. But it was great. I loved it. And there was all kinds of diversity and crap in that game. But it all fit. There's no reason to make male hags or tranny succubi or something like that. There is an insane amount of diversity already in it, and it fits, and it's fine. This is never enough. It's never good enough. You always just have to keep doing it and pushing the boundaries.
New in the new Monster Manual, and Crawford admits everything. And so there's your first red flag right there. When you've got a beautiful game, a beautiful fantasy world that's been built with rules, with classic archetypal sort of things, and you're trying to get rid of it, change it, make it new, make it year zero. This is always what they do. They want to erase everything in the past. They want everything to be new. They want everything to be theirs. Even though what they're doing is not really creating, it's just twisting other things and trying to put an agenda on it where it wasn't there before. They have no
evil can't create. It can only corrupt.
Talent. They have no ability to do that. They have no ability to leave their actual mark on gaming or anything like that. And so what they have to do is they have to pretend like they're creating something new here. And so you see everything's new. And
not just with games, not just with D&D. Mind you, they do it with everything. They do it with movies, TV shows. They're trying to do it with anime. Anything that is good and pure that people love and has any kind of roots and longevity to it, they'll try to take it and uproot it and change it and corrupt it and make it theirs and make it for modern audiences.
It's a very, very scary thing, and that's not what players want to hear. I got to tell you that. Players want classic D&D experiences. They want a nice monster manual to deal with that. Very, very sad.
Yeah.
So once you get into the 47-minute mark of this video right here, the 2024 Monster Manual deal, you say this. The designers start to reveal changes in the monsters in the game. And they say, you can see some monsters are very similar to what you saw in 2014. In others, it's been reimagined in a variety of ways. Uh-oh, we're using this term now. That's another scary red flag.
That is a red
flag. It
flag.
gets worse from here, my friends. In many cases, when we redesigned a monster, we wanted to bring out the monster's story and personality better. They continue. Yeah, it's always about the story and personality of the monsters, my friends. Yes, they're people too.
I don't mind that. Monsters with deep lore, with different personalities, that's fine, but are you doing it for story purposes? Like, is it to enrich the overall world and the experience, or is it to just modernize it, for modern audiences? You know what I mean?
Gender agenda crops up. Also, people are going to see in the art male or female versions of a creature they've never seen before. For instance, in the Dryad painting, you now see a male and female Dryad. I put this as the top deal. You see this weird gay-looking male Dryad. This is something that never existed in history before.
Yeah.
In Greek mythology, the Dryads were always appearing as young women. That is something that they were just as their nature. But now we can't do that because it's 2024. And so it's not just about the demasculinization of culture, which it is. That's already been done.
That's always a big aspect of it. Anything, just continually feminizing men and even in a fantasy setting like this. And what's weird is I feel like there's other monsters that many of which are feminine in nature and that are male, but it's like they have to do it with every single one.
thing. We've already replaced all of our player's handbook stuff with strong female black leads and the like. So you don't have your male warriors anymore. You've got your female warriors. On the opposite side, they have to turn everything.
And the worst part is they're not even hot. Like, it'd be one thing if they were actually hot, but they look all like these, these chicks, these homogenized, weird freaks of nature.
Feminine and corrupted too,
lumberjacks,
because you can't have any of it right in 2024. So now men and male things have to be presented in a feminine fashion.
Right,
and that's exactly what's going on. You got a virtue,
and women are presented in a male fashion, basically.
To the queers, after all, right? And that's what's being.
This guy doesn't like gay people.
Done here, and it gets worse in this regard. So next, the hags. So you know the old hag, right? The creepy old hag, the witch, the wizened woman. Not anymore. They can be aunties or uncles, he says, grannies or grampies. Wow, stunning and brave right there. So hag is obviously a negative term and a monster. That's what makes sense right there. And so they can't make it a gendered thing because that would be sexist and misogynistic. So now it can be uncles or grampies too. Oh, wow, how fun. Please clap for these guys, everybody. It's absolutely ridiculous. And like I said, when you get into this video, you see they're giddy about this. They're just like overjoyed of the fact that they're turning this into some like...
Thank you, John, for watching this video and doing this so I don't have to.
Like a weird gender nightmare, because this is all they have. This is the only thing their like tiny adult brains can think about, and that's what the woke are on every level. But it gets worse yet again, my friends. The trans agenda pops up, and this is how they've incorporated it into monsters. With changes to succubus, and here's the image for that, a traditionally female creature, once again, and incubus, which is a traditionally male creature, are now two sides of the same creature, and they can swap gender at will. So they can go back and forth so that it's an agendered thing. Yes, non-binary, as you may be. I guess it would still be binary because it's back and forth, but transgender and some, I don't know the term. Maybe they go by vo, them pronouns. You're going to have to ask the succubus and incubus in the game.
Why not just make a new creature? Like, if you really want to introduce the non-binary, bullcrap, why don't you just make a brand new creature, introduce it to the world, and then players can play with that type of creature that's non-binary, as an enemy or role-playing as one or whatever. Why not just do that? Why is it always taking an existing type of creature or monster or character and switching them around? Why not just make something new?
But we've also reimagined the succubus and the incubus. Rather than having the succubus and incubus indicating the gender of one monster, we've now turned them into two monsters. Either of those monsters can appeal as male or female. The succubus is the sort of one you meet in the material plane, and the incubus is the one who haunts your dreams, and the succubus can turn into an incubus. That's right. Anytime they feel like they're an incubus, they can be one. And
that's stupid. The incubus is a man, and the succubus is a chick. And they're like very like sexual types of creatures.
Incubus can turn into a succubus. So this is it. Men can be women, women can be men. This is where it is. And as he says, the succubus and incubus...
So every time we see a picture now of a succubus, and she's like hot, and she's got those devil wings, and like the red skin or something like that, and she's wearing some kind of, dark bikini or something. Every time we see one of those pictures now of a succubus like that, she's also a dude.
These are one of just many examples.
Okay.
For changes that are going to add gender ideology in the 2025 Monster Manual. This is ridiculous stuff. This is the type of stuff that players don't want, and they're doubling down on it, guys. They knew that this was going to be a problem. They've known it for months now because people have been talking about this game and criticizing it for months, and they keep going because this is all they have. Now, I'll note, by the way, as much as they like to virtue signal their diversity and inclusivity, notice all the people on this video. Notice the designers. Notice what you got here. They're all white dudes trying to virtue signal how diverse and inclusive they are, right? It happens every single time.
Yeah, it is interesting how that works. All of these progressive white guys.
This is what happens.
And they all look like they would be completely beat up in school.
You're just like a kind of beta cuck.
He took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to call this guy that. I was going to be like, man, this guy looks like a cuck. He took the words right out of my mouth.
They're all white dudes trying to virtue signal how like diverse and inclusive they are, right? It happens every single time. This is what happens when you're just like I guess a kind of beta cuck out there that gets thrown into these companies. You have to virtue signal for your little scraps from Wizards of the Coast to keep working for them. This is what they require, and this is what you end up with.
Yep.
You end up with a monster manual that nobody wants, with a player's handbook that nobody wants, and a dungeon master's guide that nobody wants, as this edition continues to circle the drain and destroy the legacy of D&D. Absolutely sad stuff, but this is where we're at in 2025. So, gosh, enjoy the stuff. Are you going to be buying this? I don't know anybody who is personally. Oh my gosh, just play AD&D. It's better. All right, hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment down.
What's AD&D?
Down below with what you think about these monster swaps. And please check out my great...
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. D&D is in a sad state. I mean, it is going more and more woke. And the thing is like when I played Baldur's Gate 3, it was so much fun. There was all kinds of diversity. And, you know, as a role-playing game, I don't know, you can role-play as whatever you want and do whatever you want. Why? I don't understand why they have to make some of these decisions like this. It's like they hate their audience. You know, the vast majority of D&D players are mostly like white dudes, you know, like nerdy kind of white guys like me. Not that there is another kind, you know, there's chicks and black dudes and Mexicans and, you know, everyone loves the fantasy stuff. But a big, huge portion of it is just straight white guys. And it's like they hate that. You know, it's like they're so desperate to get their audience diversified. And so they try to diversify all of this stuff and put in the trans stuff and the gay stuff and all this other stuff. And race swaps and you know, just mixing it all up as much as they can. I guess because they're thinking it's going to attract a more diverse audience when all they end up doing is pushing their core audience away, and it doesn't attract anyone new at all. I want to get into D&D, man. I do. I want to learn how to play it. I want to get into it. I've been invited to this tabletop now, but it's kind of far to drive, and it's from this dude that I work with. But every time I see him and I work with him, he'll constantly bring it up, and he'll just be like, you know, are you gonna come to the comic book store or whatever he calls it? Are you gonna play? Are you gonna show up? Are you gonna do this? And at first I was like, yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Like, I'm gonna try to make it out, but I don't know if I can. It's kind of a far ways, and then even on top of that, committing to like a D&D campaign, and then you have to pay to get inside. I don't know if I have the money. And so time went on, and every time I saw him, he just keeps bringing it up, and he's starting to get on my nerves. He's starting to piss me off. It's starting to get really annoying. So now it's just kind of like, oh God, I don't want to start a D&D campaign. And he's been talking to me like, yeah, I've been playing for like 12 years, you know, and me and my friends, we're all like veterans. And I'm like, man, I don't even know the rules. I'm going to feel so stupid. It's going to take forever to learn this stuff. Anyways, guys, do you play D&D? Do you think I should get into it now, or is it too late? I think it's probably obviously past its glory days, but is it still worth getting into and playing, or am I just going to run into a bunch of, like, you know, woke, like, blue-haired, nose rings, you know, morbidly obese, like, pronouns in their bio type of people who hate Trump with all their heart and blame him for the stars not aligning? I get the impression that that's all the kind of people I'm going to run into. But let me know if you think I'm wrong. You know, should I still check it out? And what's the deal with all this crap? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, guys, have a great freaking day.